don't think, it's good you get to laugh. I don't think you get to do that many. So.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to interview a friend of mine, Lucy Ryan, who has recently been chosen to be a part of the Great Britain squad for the World Transplant Games. Hi Lucy, thank you very much for agreeing to have a chat with me. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your background?
Hi Tis, thanks so much for having me in the studio today. I suppose it all kind of started back when I was born. So they don't think I really enjoyed being born and had a heart attack. So I was born in Norfolk and then got taken to Great Ormond Street Hospital in London not long after I was born. And they were brilliant. They got me to the age of 2 before I needed any kind of major surgery. So as a result of the suspected heart attack, I had a leaky valve. So they repaired that. But then a few months later, another valve broke, so they had to replace that. And then unfortunately the original repair broke. So my heart wasn't strong enough to get through any more surgeries. So the only option we had was a transplant, which is still it's still a huge thing nowadays, but so I had my transplant in 1993, and it was only 5 years into paediatric transplants in the UK. So all my poor parents could be told was, Lucy might get 5 years. But the nature of having a transplant is you don't have any other options. So thankfully for me, my parents said yes. So yeah, but thankfully also I was really lucky I got a donor in time, and that I'm still here almost 30 years later, which is amazing. But as part of having a transplant, it means if you're well enough, you can compete in something called the British Transplant Games. And as you've probably guessed, to take part in that, you have to have had a transplant. So it could be anything. It doesn't have to be heart. It could be lungs. It could be kidneys, pancreas. It can even be like bone marrow or stem cell transplants. And it sounds a bit twee, but it genuinely is the taking part that counts in the British Transplant Games, because obviously some people pre-transplant have a really poor quality of life, so they can't even get out of bed on their own, let alone run 100 metres. So you meet people who've, a year ago couldn't do any of that, and now they're like sprinting 100 metres, which is amazing. Wow. So I've been doing this on and off since a year post-transplant, so 1994. And you compete for your hospital team. So when I was a child, I competed for Great Ormond Street, which was great. And now I'm a little bit too old for that, so I'm looked after by Royal Papworth in Cambridge. So I now compete for the adults team. But it means also if you score certain times and distances, you can actually be selected for something called the World Transplant Games, which is a bi-annual event. And I've never been selected before until last summer. I competed in Leeds at the British Transplant Games and managed to get good enough times to be asked to take part in the World Transplant Games, which are being held in Australia this April.
Oh, fabulous. And you're going to be flying out for that in April then?
I am, yes. So, the games run the 15th to the 21st of April. I'm competing at the end of the week, but I'll fly out a bit before they start just so I can get over the jet lag, because I've never been that far before. So. It's bonkers because it actually falls over my 30th heart transplant anniversary, so I will be competing for Team GB, which is just...
That's incredible.
Crazy.
Did you ever expect this to happen to you?
No. I never, especially when I was at school, I did sport, but I wasn't very good. I was often in the below average thing, so it's more something I've just had to work at as an adult. But I think having had a transplant, maybe it's made me get into sport. Like if I'd been born and had nothing wrong, I probably would have done some sport, but I don't think I would have taken as much interest now, because I'm quite aware I want to look after my body. Yeah. And obviously this, gift of life I've been given.
Exactly.
So a couple of years ago, something called the opt-out system came in. So it's now, unfortunately, if someone dies in circumstances that they could become an organ donor, which sadly is normally really sudden, unexpected circumstances. So only about 5,000 people in the UK actually die in those circumstances a year. But the problem is a lot of people haven't discussed what their thoughts are about organ and tissue donation with their family or their loved ones. So a lot of relatives are suddenly faced with this horrific event that, you know, someone really close to them has died suddenly, and then they're being asked about organ donation and they don't know what they would have thought. So I would say one of the really important things is, obviously, you would hope it never happened to anyone you know, but the fact I'm sitting here means it did happen to someone.
Exactly.
So I would just say, talk to your families today or this week. It's not particularly like fun subject, but if you just tell them what you think about, you know, whether you'd want to donate certain organs or certain tissues, that would be really helpful. It is, if you haven't opted out, it's assumed that you're in favour of organ donation, but obviously your family is still talked to. Yeah, because obviously, you know, some people might have expressed they're against it but not got round to opting out, or vice versa. So you can still sign up to the organ donor register as well. So that's really helpful if something did happen, just so your family are aware.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you so much, though. It's been really helpful and really informative as well for everybody listening. So I really appreciate you coming and just having a chat. If anyone can donate again, please do click the link that we're going to put in the description for you, and just send any support you can to Lucy.